Hey there, everyone. I am Vickie Howell, and this is Ask Me Monday, episode number 122. So I am thrilled to be here starting out the week, as I do almost every week with you all, my crafty community. And I would love to start out, as we do, by telling each other where we are right now, where we're watching from, or in my case, where I'm speaking from, and also what you did over the weekend to nurture that creative part of yourself, whether it was embroidering a stitch or making a cupcake or, doing a little sketching or whatever it was. And of course, if you've got project tutorials or patterns or recipes, please post links to them here in the comment section. We are a community, and I hope that we inspire each other through that. So I am watching here in my studio in Austin, Texas, and I was super creative over the weekend, actually. I was really happy. I'm on this sewing kick, so I made another Ogden tank, which I'm wearing now. It's a little bit chilly here, so I'm not wearing it as a tank, but and I'm getting a little bit better. Like I said, I've sewn all my life, but not garments really for myself. I'm more of a, like a baby project sewer in the past, or a lot of home decor. So I'm learning little techniques here and there, and enjoying doing something just creative for myself. I also finished crocheting a Future Yarn Yay project, and which is blocking at my feet as we speak. And then, of course, I prepped what we are going to be doing here today, which I'm about to tell you about. But first, I want to just say hello to some of the people tuning in. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Terry. Hi, Rosa. Amber's watching from Minnesota. In case you see me ducking, I have this new lens, and it's covering some of the comments. So that's why I'm doing a little of this. Teresa, it's so good to see you. We've got Jenna from South Jersey. So keep on keeping on and telling us. And again, I would love to know what you're making. I get inspired by seeing your projects. A lot of you I see on Instagram. I'm at Vickie Howell. If you would like to follow my adventures, I do a lot of stories where I kind of just talk about what I'm posting or what I'm crafting on, and I love seeing other people's. All right, today what we are going to be doing, courtesy of our sponsor, Knitter's Pride, or Knit Pro if you are out of North America, is making fabric yarn. All right, like I said just a few minutes ago, I've been really on the sewing kick, right? But sewing means a lot of extra scraps. And, I like to do what I can about not wasting a bunch of stuff. I'm not always the best at it, but I really do try. And I like the idea of working with different fabrics and different textiles, and experimenting to see how a pattern would look made out of yarn, and then maybe also out of fabric or jersey or whatever. Oh, we've got someone from Slovenia, so nice to see you. And Angie, nice to see you as well. Deborah's making preemie hats for a local hospital. I love that. And it looks like some links are being shared, so please go back and check in the comment section. You can watch the entirety of the show as a replay after we're done. And please, if you know anybody that might be interested in hanging out with us crafty style and learning how to make fabric yarn, please share this video. If you share it while it's live, it helps even more people see it, algorithms and blah, blah, blah. But if you share it after, I really appreciate it. Okay, so it seems pretty self-explanatory, and it kind of is making yarn, but what I plan to do today is show you 3 different methods for making fabric yarn. So we're going to talk about fabrics, we're going to talk about different joining methods, and then we're going to talk about what tools are great to work with once you've made the yarn, and what kind of projects that you might think about creating with the yarn. Okay, so let's talk yarn. This is a rayon challis that is that how you pronounce it, challis? From a kimono that I am making, or rather a caftan that I'm making, because I'm about to go to Palm Springs. And I had a bunch of fabric left, and I just love it. It's a cotton and steel fabric, and it's called Santa Fe pottery, and I just dug it. So I wanted to keep using it for something else. So what I plan on doing is making a basket with it, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that towards the end of the show. But when you're choosing fabrics, like, it might be that you have a scrap bin like this, or maybe you just have a few pieces of one type of fabric, Or maybe you have a ton of yardage and you want to cut all of that up. It really doesn't matter. There aren't any rules. Hi, Becky. Nice to see you. There aren't any rules when making fabric yarn, but there are different methods for cutting them and joining them for either the kind of look you want or the type of material you're making. So let's start with just plain old cotton. So let's say that you just have a few yards. You're not trying to cut a really large piece and make it into one continuous strip. The first thing that you can do is just cut with scissors every inch or so. Now this only works with a woven fabric, what I'm about to show you, not with a jersey or any of the knit fabrics. So all you need to do, and I recommend about 1 inch. The narrower the strips, the finer the gauge, but for something like this is just plain quilter's cotton, an inch is good. And then all you have to do is rip it. And then you get this really great texture on the sides as well. So you would just continue ripping all the way down. Now, if that's not in your comfort zone and you feel like you want a little more control, although I have to tell you, I get straighter strips with that than when I'm doing what I'm about to show you. If you're working on the type of yarn that I made, so I just cut this with scissors because I was, frankly, binge watching Escape from Dannemora, and I didn't want to get up, and I had scissors in my hands. The cool thing about it is that it really doesn't matter if the strips are perfect in any way. This type of project isn't about clean, beautiful lines and perfect gauge. It's really just about, the texture and what you can create with it. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfectly straight. So of course, I'm going to take the camera and face it down this way so you can see what I'm doing. So of course, just straight, I didn't mean to give you a little flashy shot there, geez. Just straight up cutting works well too. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of drag your scissors and just cut them like that. Okay, so we've talked ripping and we've talked cutting so far. Now, if you're working on a method, if you tend to be a little pickier, or if you're working on a method that requires each strip to be very uniform, and I will be showing you one of those, then you can always go to the rotary cutter. So with this, let me see if I can find a piece of fabric that I haven't already. I'm going to bring this one back in. So with the rotary cutter, you can just get this in any quilt section of your local craft store or quilt store. Let me go to the side that I didn't rip. You would just lay it out, depending on how sharp your blade is or how long your strips were, you could probably fold it in multiples, and so it would go really fast. I am not sure enough of the sharpness of my blade for live video to do multiples. So ideally you'd have a longer piece, but it doesn't really matter. So with this piece, you can use the little grid. You can see that there's grids marked off at 1 inch intervals, and you use a straight edge. This is way too big. And then you'll just cut. I don't always go this method, A, because I'm not too picky about uniformity, but B, I find the rotary cutter to be a little bit harder on my wrists than scissors, and so it depends on how my wrists are feeling. If I had a big deadline for knitting or crochet and my wrists are feeling fussy, I'm not going to want to put the pressure on my wrist, so I may not do that. So so you can get your strips this way. Any of the methods will work. Whatever makes your whole heart happy is great. Okay, so that is all woven fabrics, but let's talk jersey. Now, I have done many tutorials in the past on t-shirt yarn, and so I'm not going to cover t-shirts for the purposes of this episode, but we can talk jersey. Jersey is its own little magical being in and of itself. So you can choose to cut jersey any way that you want. You can, well, not rip it. You can either cut it with your scissors, or you can use the rotary. But the cool thing about jersey is that you'll get a completely different look of your yarn after you've cut it, if you stretch it, it turns into tubes. And if you've missed any part of this video, you can always watch the replay after, and please don't forget to share it so other people can see it. So it turns into almost like this little like tubular action. And it's really, really nice. So fun, and there's loads of projects. So you could use any project that you see or pattern that you see that calls for t-shirt yarn. You could use straight up jersey fabric if you needed a ton more yardage, or maybe you have yardage at home and don't have time to go to thrift stores to go get a bunch of extra large t-shirts. This works as well. And you can see the type of yarn. Now this is t-shirt. This is t-shirt yarn that I Indigo Shibori dyed this a while ago. But it's really cool. I really like it. It just gives you a different perspective when you're working with knitting and crocheting. Sometimes it's really cool to get outside of the box. All right, now let's talk joining. Hi, Valerie. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so when we join, there's a few ways. The straight up, like, get it done thing that you can do, of course, is just straight up tie it. So you would just tie a knot. Make sure it's firm, and then you might want to trim it. Now, if you use this method, this really has to be, excuse me, you really have to be okay with this being a very sort of whimsical project, a lot of texture, because these knots will show, but that's okay. Often in projects, that's okay. If you're making something wearable, maybe not so much, but if you're doing a basket, or a bowl, or certain kinds, if you're weaving with it, it may just add character. All right, so that is the simplest way. And I'm actually not all that thrilled with the view that you're getting right now, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Take off my other lens. So let's get this perspective. Okay, so this is what the knot looks like. Just give me a second to get situated. All right, so let's say that you want to go to the opposite end of the spectrum now. You don't like at all how the knot looks, or you really wanted something cleaner. You could get a little more hardcore. And what I mean by that is you could begin to sew your strips. So for this method, I'm going to bring in my ironing board. So this is really is about the process. And Karen's asking me if I used the winder for that t-shirt yarn. Yeah, I did. I absolutely did. You don't have to. And I'm going to talk about winding in a second as well. All right. So for this method, you really do need to have strips that are about the same width. So this would be a method that you would want to use your rotary cutter. So then you want to take your fabric, and this was just 1-inch strips, and you want to press it. This is very similar to if you were making a bias tape, although not quite as fancy in the seaming. I'll show you. So you're just going to press it. And this really would be something that you could do in front of the TV. If some people get zenned out with the whole ironing and sewing process. I have to be honest with you. I probably do not, for being honest. This would take a lot of time, but it's going to look cleaner. So if that is your gig, then this is your method. All right, so you keep on ironing until you've got a full piece that's folded in half. And then you are going to hold it together. You open it up, hold it together with another strip. And then you'll sew it with either a sewing machine, which is what I did, or you can hand sew it. Then you'll take your seam allowances, and you want to sew it about 1/4 inch. finger press it again, and now they're joined. So when I mentioned this wasn't quite as fancy as if you were making bias tape, you'll notice that I didn't go through the whole effort of sewing at a 90-degree angle so that you have that nice join. It's just really not necessary. So this method is fun though if you have, you'll notice as I'm winding, if you have a bunch of different textures of fabric. This is really just for a fun like hodgepodge of fibers together. And this would be, I think this would be cool, you know, as just an addition for maybe a little embellishment for a woven piece, or you could even use it on gift wrap. All right, so that's two. We've tied and we've sewn. Now I'm going to move my ironing board and show you my favorite method that I think is not only the most efficient method, but also really looks the best. And it's what I used here in the example. Hi, Jessica from Wisconsin. Hi, Wendy. Oh, you just wait. That's about what I'm both about to show. Wendy's method is my favorite method. Okay, so you can see here, this join is, I say clean. You can still clearly see where it's joined, but it's smoother. All right, and so this is how I made this entire ball using this method. So the cool thing about this is I didn't worry at all if the strips were the same. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use these two. Okay, so this is what I call the looping method. You're going to fold a tab over. So I have right side showing. And then you just do a little snip. It really doesn't matter how big the snip is. You just want to make sure you don't go too close to the edge of the fabric because you don't want it to tear through. Then you repeat the process on a second strip. And I will have closer up pictures of this method at VickieHowell.com shortly after this video. Then you have two strips and they both have a little, it looks like a buttonhole, little slits. Then you are going to take the top strip and feed it. You can either hold it this way or this way, whatever makes you happy, but you want to feed the top through the slit. Then you want to still work with your top piece. You want to whip it around and feed that top piece through itself. And pull it all the way through. And it'll look like this. Give it a little tug, smooth it down, and they're joined. Isn't that cool? Okay, so now I've got I'm going to show you again. I've got my ball over here. I'm going to add this. This strip is way bigger than what I was doing before, but we'll make it work. So even if you're working with a really narrow strip like this one, it still works. Just a note here, I usually get rid of the selvage edge, which is the edge that you find on the side of a fabric that usually is undyed. So I'm cutting my snip. Hi Taylor, nice to see you. The important part is that you make the working, let's call it the working strip, the one that is going to get flipped and fed through itself, not the one that's attached to your ball. It's not dire if not, well, yes it is. You can't, because you can't fit your whole ball through this slit. So you have to work with the piece that is not attached. So just remember, you're always working with the piece that's on top the whole time. So we push the top piece through the bottom piece. So we can see the slit on that top piece. Then we take our top piece again, wrap it around and feed it through itself. Give it a tug. Smooth it out, and that's all there is to it. And you can just do that for as much fabric as you have or as long as you want to make the strand. Okay, this shot's going to look funny because of the lens, but here we go. All right, so now we've talked about 3 different methods for making yarn, fabric yarn. So what tools can you use with this yarn? Like, what are the great tools, and what the heck do you make with this stuff once you've done it? Well, I happen to be of the school that I like it how it looks sitting in a basket or a bowl, just in and of itself. I think it's like an art piece, and I think it's nice. But you can also make your own baskets. So I have a couple here. This is what I plan to do with the yarn I just made. This is one of the baskets. I've done a tutorial before with yarn. This is with fabric yarn. Now, this is not fabric yarn I made. This is actually by Knit Collage, but it's the exact same method. It's what I did is I took yarn, or excuse me, rope like this, and I crocheted around it. And you can go to my website, VickieHowell.com, to see tutorials for how you make rope bowls and rope baskets. If you're using t-shirt or jersey yarn, this is from my kids book, Finger Knitting Fun. You can make long tubes with finger knitting and sew them together to make a bag. It wouldn't need to just be jersey. I just like how it looks. And you can skip the rope part altogether and just crochet a big old basket like this. This is from my book, Aware Knits. This was like 20 t-shirts, I think is what I used. But this was a really fun basket project that I did. You can do rugs with jersey and t-shirts. I often make pot holders. I have a crochet and maybe a knit version on my website on VickieHowell.com. Really fun and play with. But you could also weave with it. You could incorporate this in your patchwork if you're mending. You could use them for gift wrap. All different manners of things. They make really cool necklace and jewelry too. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about are the tools that I recommend you using to make your stuff. So if you don't, I wouldn't use your ball winder. I did use it for the t-shirt yarn. I wouldn't use it for the big yarn like this. I think it would just muck it up and get caught and frustrating. So you can just wrap it around with your hands, or you can use a Nostapenny. This is by Knitter's Pride. I did a tutorial on how to use one of these a few episodes back. You can find other episodes of Ask Me Monday by going to my Facebook page and then just clicking on videos, and you'll see the playlist. Or if you're watching later on YouTube, you can also just see the Ask Me Monday playlist. So this is a Nostapenny, so you can use that to wind it. Then if you want to knit, I would recommend using either maybe size 13 or above needles. So any of the gingers, probably from here up, would be great. 13s, 15s, 17s would work great. It kind of depends on how thick your fiber is. If you're using a big canvas, you need to go bigger. Oh, that's the other thing. So the finer your fabric, if you're working with something like, let's see if I have something in here. If you're working with something like a strip of tulle, this is wider than a strip. But if I had this, cut into my strips, I could go with a smaller needle or hook than if I were using, say, you can't tell, but this is a vintage canvas. The thicker, the stiffer the material, the larger the needle or hook you want to go, just so you get some kind of drape, and so it's easier on your hands. Okay, so you can use that if you're going with thicker strips, or if you just want something that has a little more open of a weave. You could also use, these are also Knitter's Pride, these are jumbo birch, and these are size 36s, and they're 20 millimeters. So these would be great too. And I have links to all of these tools on my website, VickieHowell.com. And then for hooks, I would recommend, again, I would start at, this is a Knitter's Pride Waves. I would start at an M, but go all the way up as big as you can. So starting at an M, which is a 13 9mm, and up to crochet with. So anything above an M should be great. And then lastly, make sure that you have a tapestry needle. You can use your fingers for some things, but it does sometimes help to have one. My very well used, I'm expecting more to come to me any day. wool needle, also by Knitter's Pride. You can see all the fibers that are still stuck to it because I use it so often. These are great. This is actually not even the biggest one because they're flexible, and so bigger fibers will fit through without any struggle, really. So that's all there is to it. 3 different ways to cut and join and otherwise make great yarn out of fabric. Please use this let's try that again. Please use this method when you're trying to clear out your scrap bin for fabrics. If you have a ton of yardage of something that has just been sitting around, turn it into a basket or something. Or if you just want to hang out with your little and have them practice tying and placing loops in together, or if they're a little bit older, cutting, why not? It'll give you something to do while you're hanging out and binge watching stuff. Just me. And it also creates something kind of unique and beautiful. So please follow me on Instagram at Vickie Howell. I will be showing the basket that I make out of this fabric. And you can also watch stories because I'm going to attempt to make the caftan that is also made out of this fabric. It's a lot of yardage. I almost ran out yesterday when I was cutting it out. Wish me luck. All right, that is it. Thanks again to our sponsor, Knitter's Pride. Thank you to all of you for starting out your week with me. Please make sure to refresh your feed for Craftish, my podcast. We are hopefully getting a new episode up this week. We've had major equipment malfunctions. If not, know that we're thinking about it. We're working on it. It'll be there with it. But there are 40 something that you can rewatch or re-listen to if you so want to. Also, I will be off next week. I'm going to a Knitters Retreat in Palm Springs, as I mentioned before, but I will be back here live on the 28th, Monday the 28th, so please join me. And then the last thing, sales for January Yarnier opened yesterday, and we're already almost sold out. Before I started shooting this video, we had around 40 spots out of hundreds of spots. We only have around 40 left. It's a really, really great box. The theme is across the pond, so everything is either inspired by or from Europe, and that was really fun, supporting 3 female-run businesses, well, 4 if you count me, 5 if you count the printers too. Really good stuff. You can go to my Instagram feed and where it says yay, you can swipe if you want to see what's inside of it. I'm not mentioning directly because some people like to be surprised, but I would love for you to join because we already have all of these events planned in the private Yarnier group, including appearances by some of the company owners, and we do special giveaways. Oh, which reminds me, we're doing a giveaway for Yarnier, huge, 2 giveaways. They're both worth almost $200 each. One for knitters, one for crocheters. They're for subscribers only. You must be subscribed by today, January 14th, to be entered to win. So that's yarnier.com. Get thee now if you're already a subscriber. There's some great add-ons. We have Addie Turbo Circulars, and we have Addie Olive crochet hooks for the projects that we're making. So dive in, enjoy. And if you are a subscriber, I will see you in our private Facebook group and hang out. If you are not, no worries. I will see you here on the 28th again. Thank you so much for sharing. Don't forget to click follow, the little bell, the notification bell, so that you are notified next time I'm live. Have a great week. Bye.